Ah, friends, you are already here. Good evening. You have noticed? I'm reviewing literature to show you several biologically active points today because we take not only methods of traditional medicine, but also methods of traditional Chinese medicine, including classical Jinshin Jutsu, including therapy. It allows us to use methods of influence on our organism, certain points on our body, and with the help of influence on them, we can achieve very interesting effects. And today we will go through several points that allow us to prolong our life for an indefinite amount of time. That is, until you practically get tired of this world. You can use these points to prolong your life and also help your friends, for example, if you want them to stay with you too. And so, today we will review several biologically active points, the most important ones, the most powerful ones, the most effective ones, which we will activate. To understand this whole ideology and philosophy of traditional Chinese medicine, you need to roughly understand how a Chinese person thinks. That is, for us, the body is just a set of organs and bones. A bag, so to speak. Blood, nerves. This is all that we can touch that exists for us, people of science. See? It's the energy. It's already working. So, for the Chinese, the world is different. For example, there is such a representation as how European and traditional Chinese medicine work. For example, have you seen a picture like that? A garden, the tree grows, flowers are blooming, water splashes, and there should be a certain balance in the picture. And European medicine, head, hand, leg, cut off, put back together. But here, everything is balanced. That is, for example, if we remove mosquitoes from this ecosystem, we have an increase in the number of sparrows and the number of cows decreases. So, balance. The meaning of traditional Chinese medicine is the balance of organs and systems. But the most interesting thing is that the effectiveness of both of them is immaculate. So, friends, we go back to the underlying principles. So, friends, in traditional Chinese medicine, everything is based on the interaction of elements. Like in Avatar, for those who watch the series, it's very similar, except for the air. There was magic of fire, water, air, earth, but here, instead of air, there's metal. So we have earth, metal, water, wood, and fire. So each element corresponds to certain organs. Certain organs correspond to each element. The large intestine and lungs are metal, but air fits more because it's in both of them. Water is kidneys and the bladder, yes. And the third one, well, all elements correspond to something. See, here are 4 of them. The small intestine corresponds to fire. Small intestine, heart, pericardium. And there is also a triple heater. It's an organ that doesn't exist, but it's like a formation inside the body that includes several things. Someone there thinks it's the spine, but in short, this is the triple heater. Next, what we have is the wood. It's gallbladder and liver. We've already covered the metal, so next is earth. Can you guess in the comments? I already see you writing the correct answer. It's the stomach and the spleen. Here we go. These arrows mean interaction, the same thing they have in astrology. Have you heard about it? They also predict things. It's called Bazi, Chinese astrology. And here all the elements interact with each other. That is, for example, water can extinguish fire. Fire can melt metal. That is, they can suppress each other, or they can strengthen each other. See here? Earth creates metal. Metal ore forms in the ground, I guess. That's what they think. It's not me making it up now on the go. It's a large book. It's a tradition over the centuries. It all adds up because metal creates water. And here questions arise. Of course, how do the Chinese make water from metal? Water is needed to water the tree, but also if we throw a twig into the fire, it flares up. And they thought that the earth was formed because the fire burned down. So everything suppresses each other, everything can strengthen each other. That's the core of these interactions. That is, the point is that there is also such a concept as a meridian. A meridian is a certain set of points on our body. You will not see them. Even if you look closely, you will not see them visually. There are certain anatomical landmarks, and these points have certain properties, and a meridian is a set of points. Just like there is a meridian for us, for example. Which organ do you want to know more about? Let's say the lung meridian. It has its own specific points, and they are located on certain parts of the body and form a certain line. Along this line, all the points are located and form the lung meridian. And so does each meridian. Some of them are longer, some are shorter, and all the points are located on the meridian. And the most interesting thing is, there are points on these meridians that can be activated. Here, for example, is the lung meridian. On the lung meridian, there is a point that activates the lung meridian. That is, it is called the tone point. There is a point that slows down the activity of the lung meridian, reducing its function. It is called the braking or sedating point. There is a point that can transfer activity from one meridian to another. That is, this point is called the luo point. You see luo point written here. They can be used to transfer activity from one meridian to another. That's the philosophy, friends. It's just for you to immerse yourself in the atmosphere of medieval China. But for us, it's just important where to press, and that it works. We have a finger, we have a point, we press, we feel the action. That's what's important to us. It's just atmospheric, so that everything is created as if you were already in China. The music, the taste of the dumplings, we can feel it. So, friends, let's get started. 3 points that allow us to prolong our life: youth, health, beauty, wealth, prosperity, and happiness. So, the first one. We can be healthy, but if we become dull, if we forget our name where all the money is hidden, there's no point. We need our memory. Of course, we need to forget some things, but the most important thing, the code, the PIN code from your phone, you need to remember. That's why the first 2 points. They keep your mind clear and turn your brain's work into quantum leaps of the computer. Well, yeah. So, they improve the brain's work, everyone understands. Brain blood supply, every neuron. It becomes so lively in you, so that it already seeks information for itself, not just such a half-alive or half-dead things. Our math teacher, she called Maxim Efimov to the blackboard once, and he stands up like this, and she says to him, "Maxim, I don't understand. Are you half alive or half dead?" Got a bit distracted, friends. So, the point. The first point. It is located anatomically, look, between right near the front edge of the trapezius muscle, that is, behind the trapezius muscle, and here in front of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So these 2 points, it's easier probably to even find them not by the name of the muscle, but just as dimples. So you put your 2 big fingers, go here along the sides. And here you fall into such dimples. You do this with your fingers. Your fingers go like this, like chick, chick, chick. They went and fell into such a dimple. And these two dimples, these are the points that enhance the blood supply to the brain to unbelievable things. As our Chinese friends say, they advise us to massage them to live longer. So we press on this point. The medieval Chinese, this was at the time when there were these kung fu masters who could control the elements. They all invented it. There is a legend about how these points formed, how they appeared. I'll tell you later at the end of the video. So these 2 points here, and now how we act on them. First, we start to massage them. First one as if clockwise, the other against the clock like this. We made 15 movements, then 15 movements in the opposite direction. Next, 15 times we press. Pressed, released, pressed, released. This is the first point, friends. Try it. Feel the effect. Write in the comments how many years younger you feel after pressing this point. But you need to do it every day for the effect to take place. You should at least do it for 3 days. Do it for a week. Do it daily. You should work these points. Friends, the next point is located next to the previous ones, but in the middle. Right in the middle. Here in the middle, between the first vertebra and the occipital bone, there is a dimple again. We locate them by finding dimples. Here it is in the middle. And here the principle is the same. That is, we first massage it in one direction. Here it is, right in the dimple. Do it in one direction. We work it out 15 times, then to the other direction. We massage it 15 times as well, then press 15 times. Release, press, release. That is, anatomically, these zones correspond to the places where we have short flexors, and they are very often strained. This is where the vessels that go to the brain often get pinched. So friends, it's time for the second point of the brain. The brain is doing great, but it is necessary for the blood to move around the body, because as soon as the heart stops beating in our chest, then the soul leaves the body. According to the beliefs of traditional Chinese medicine, and not just medicine but philosophy in general, like Taoism for example, the human body for the Chinese does not have just one soul. In fact, in the Middle Ages, there were several. They had several souls, and after death, these souls would leave the body one by one, not all at once. Some left first, some stayed, some went to heaven to the great Yanluo Wang. So, our next point is located here. We find the middle of the collarbone. From the middle of the collarbone, we measure 4 fingers. Interestingly, you should orient yourself specifically on your anatomical fingers. That is, when you measure yourself, you should measure with your own fingers. For example, your husband or wife has their own fingers. Your fingers will not fit him or her. That is, you do not go to him or her with your fingers. He or she should measure with their own. So, friends, 4 fingers from the center of the collarbone down. We draw a line perpendicular to the surface of the planet. And here we find the next point. Here it is, both on the right and on the left. We also work them out with you, press 2. First, we find them in the middle of the collarbone down here. We found this one too, and we work it out. You can do it like this, you can do it like that, it's whatever you like more. 15 times in one direction and then 15 times in the other direction. Press, hold. That's to improve the work of our heart, the heart muscles. After acting on it, you can notice such a lightness that appears in the chest, some freshness, a desire to run across the field, breathe in the air, Embrace the birch tree. That's why your heart starts to work better. Better pump blood. It's fresh, renewed. It spreads through the vessels, penetrating every cell of your renewed, rejuvenating organism. Well, friends, and of course, the next point. In general, the evolution is focused only on organisms that want and can reproduce. So as soon as your instinct and desire to reproduce disappears, nature crosses you off its list and puts you on the waiting list for the transition to the next life. It's not necessary to reproduce, but functions should be maintained. That is, the function should be active of the sexual urinary systems. For this, there is a special zone, a point, which is located right in this area, right here. How to find it, friends? Finding it is not so simple, unlike the previous points, because, well, unlike the previous ones, it has a large volume. Look. First, you need to find the upper rear axis of the iliac bone. And there can be difficulties here, but here is the upper rear axis of the iliac bone. Look at it. This little bone is located right here. Now we start moving outward from it and we get there. Like this. Like this. How do I explain it? Let's use the fingers again, traditionally. Look, we found the top of this axis of the iliac bone. Here we put 4 fingers. Now I'll check. Does it match or not? So, you put 4 fingers. Yep, it fits into this place. Here, right at the level of the top of this bone, you put 4 fingers. And this is where this point will be. Here it is. In contrast to the previous ones, which have a diameter of about a coin, this point, it is worth more than 5 coins. There is probably no such coin. How do I compare it? It's roughly this big. Write in the comments what it can be compared to. Well, in general, smaller than a tennis ball, or like a chicken egg. If you look at the egg perpendicularly, or like a golf ball for those of you who are familiar with golf, well, you get it, roughly speaking. You need to affect this place. But there is also a special feature. Your hand will not work for this. You can use certain things or a massager like this. It attaches to the wall and you also work it out in this way. Or you can lie directly on it. Or such a ball. You also put it here and work it out. Between the wall and... Don't do it with your hand. You can lie on it, but you won't be able to turn around to one side or another, because the point is deep. Here, too, you put it and hold pressure at this point. There will be a bit of pain. If you find it correctly, then you will feel a rush of blood to the legs and to the very coccyx, to the organs of the small pelvis, possibly. Such things happen too. There's no need to be scared, but you need to use this later. Now we are discussing with you the points that prolong our life, improve the functions of our organ systems. But especially for lovers of traditional Chinese medicine, and for those who want to act on all possible biologically active points and get the maximum effect, I have prepared a video of 5 points of immortality. There is a bonus. A point with the help of which you can lose weight, which calms the appetite and forms abs. It's all on the link in the description. Please go and enjoy. 5 points of immortality plus how to act on them in different ways. That is, not only to massage them. There are some others. Whoever is interested, go watch. Well, we've figured it all out. Plunged into the world of traditional Chinese medicine. And how did it originate? So, A story for those who watched to the very end. One of the legends of how traditional Chinese medicine originated. So there was a common man, whether his name was... He was named Li, Jet Li. He was done picking up rice. He had a hoe over his shoulders. He was walking, and his head was hurting very much. His head had been hurting for a month. Suddenly he stumbled and hit his big toe against a stone. He hit it very hard. He screamed in Chinese and suddenly noticed, raising his hands, "My head doesn't hurt. What is this?" And then he thought, because his head also started to work better after this hit, and he came to the conclusion that there is a certain connection, it turns out, between the big toe and the head. And after this incident, the traditional Chinese medicine started evolving. That was its founder. Well, friends, the medicine that happened after an incident. Friends, press on points, write likes, and put comments down below. How are you? What are you up to? Share in the comments how things are going for you in general. That's all for now. Until new broadcasts.